An orphan girl became a queen and risked everything to save her people. In the mighty empire of Persia, where golden palaces stretched toward the sky and kings ruled with absolute power, one young woman's courage would change history forever. Her name was Esther. She was not born into royalty. She was an orphan, raised with love and wisdom by her cousin Mordecai. Quiet, kind, and humble. Esther never imagined she would one day stand inside the royal palace itself. But across the empire, a search had begun for a new queen. Young women from every province were brought into the palace, and among them was Esther. Day after day, she prepared quietly, carrying herself with grace and dignity. And when King Xerxes looked upon her for the very first time, something was different. The king chose Esther. A royal crown was placed upon her head, and the entire palace celebrated the rise of Persia's new queen. Yet, even in her new life, Esther remembered Mordecai's warning. Do not reveal that you are Jewish. And so Esther kept her identity hidden. Meanwhile, Mordecai continued to sit faithfully at the king's gate, watching over the palace from afar. One day, a proud and powerful official named Haman entered the city, dressed in fine robes. Every servant bowed before him, but Mordecai refused. Haman's pride quickly turned into fury, and in his anger he devised a terrible plan, not only against Mordecai, but against all the Jewish people across the empire. He convinced the king to sign a deadly decree. Messengers rode swiftly through the land carrying the terrible news. Fear spread from city to city. Families wept. Hope faded. When Mordecai heard the decree, he tore his clothes in grief and cried out before the palace gates. Soon Esther learned of his mourning and sent word to him. Mordecai's message shook her heart. Go to the king, plead for your people. But Esther was afraid. No one could approach the king without permission. Doing so could mean death. Alone in the palace garden, Esther wrestled with fear and uncertainty. Then Mordecai sent one final message. Perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this. Those words changed everything. Courage began to rise inside Esther's heart. If I perish, I perish. Across the land, the Jewish people fasted and prayed together, and Esther prepared herself to face the king. Dressed in royal robes, she walked slowly toward the throne room. The guards watched nervously. The room fell silent. Would the king reject her or spare her life? Then the king lifted his golden scepter. Esther was safe. With wisdom and patience, Esther invited the king and Haman to 2 royal banquets. At the second banquet, Esther finally revealed the truth. I am Jewish, and Haman seeks to destroy my people. The king's face filled with shock and anger. Haman's wicked plan was exposed, and the very man who plotted destruction faced judgment himself. In the end, Mordecai was honored throughout the kingdom. The Jewish people rejoiced with celebration and thanksgiving, and Queen Esther stood tall in the palace, not just as a queen, but as a woman of courage, faith, and purpose. Sometimes one brave decision can save countless lives, and perhaps you too were placed where you are for such a time as this.